Hi guys, so this has to be my favourite Warhammer figure that I've made and painted so far. It's just an awesome little diorama in itself. So this is the Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and this little chap is Slann Starmaster. I hope I've said that right, or at least somewhere near. So I've no idea how you play Age of Sigmar, but the usual thing for me, I'm looking around at lots of sort of miniatures and seeing which ones take my eye, and I say this chap certainly did, as I love the whole Aztec theme, and I say it's like a little diorama with a miniature on it, which just looks absolutely awesome. So let's crack on and show how I did this. And as usual, I got my miniature from Chaos Cards, so there's a link down below guys, go check it out and use my discount code and you get 5% off all sort of miniatures when you spend £30 or more, which is really cool. So yeah, as always guys, don't forget to leave some comments down below. Let me know if there's any sort of miniatures, figures, terrain pieces or even vehicles that you want to see me make. As I say, I just sort of browse around and sort of look for miniatures and see which ones take my fancy. And I say this one definitely was one of those. Something I don't really talk much about, and that's the assembly of miniatures. And I have to admit, obviously I do now love painting miniatures, but I also love making them. And I think that's the other reason why I love this sort of kit so much, as well there's quite a lot of pieces, so yeah, you definitely need to look through the instructions. I do occasionally sort of build miniatures without the instructions, sometimes get some problems, but yeah, this one was definitely a case of follow the instructions, because there's so many different parts. You do need to make sure you put them together, well, in the right order and, well, obviously the right place. So yeah, your usual thing, cutting them all the bits out. I say this is something I really enjoy, even though I know I sometimes make a joke about the fact that a lot of these miniatures, the pieces or the numbers of the pieces don't really correspond, as in you might get number 104 next to number 22 and in between number 19 and 68. But I think that's half the fun, is trying to find where these the pieces are. Yeah, as always, they will have sort of bits that you do need to clean up, whether it's from the sprue, as in the cutting of the sprue, or sometimes the mould lines. Yeah, but good old sort of, well, I would say sharp scalpel, but in this case it's not very sharp, and I think sometimes you don't want it to be too sharp because you'll take too much off. Yeah, a bit of waffling going on already. So yeah, you take your blunt scalpel and you just sort of rub along the edge where the bits need cleaning. And the best thing to do here is obviously take your time, nice and slow. You'd rather sort of rub too much, that's a bit rude, than sort of too much in one go and you kind of like ruin part of the miniature. So yeah, it didn't take too long, giving this bit of a clean up, and then obviously ready for gluing. And the glue I like using is good old Tamiya Extra Thin, mainly because of the brush. I did used to use Revel glue because it comes with a nice long nozzle. But I did find quite often the nozzle could get blocked, as in the glue would dry in it, and yeah, it's just a pain. Whereas using a little brush on is just really nice. Plus the other good thing with this Tamiya stuff is you can put pieces together and then put the glue over the top. Because it is the extra thin one, it basically means it's really watery. You know, I never know what the other term is. And basically it sort of seeps in between the pieces, and you can glue them that way, which is just really good. So the other thing I really love about all the Warhammer sort of miniatures and bits and pieces you get, there's always variations in what you build, which is great because it means, well, one thing you get obviously the choice of building two different things, and you also get bits left over for the old bits box, which is just lovely. So yeah, I love this dude, obviously a nice big belly, a bit like myself, and yeah, just love how he's sort of sitting there. And then it's on to the fun bit of painting. So I've been using the black primer from the thecolourforge for about the last sort of month or so, and yeah, absolutely love it. And as I say, it really is a super matte black, and yeah, it gives a really lovely sort of smooth finish, but yeah, looking really black. So using the good old dry brush palette, I think we all know this is what I use all the time. Again, it's one of those simple little things you guys suggested, I had to go out making, and yeah, absolutely love it. And it's used, well, it's used in everything that I sort of paint now. Because as we all know, the slapchop painting technique is my go-to method. Even though I am now starting to have a mess about using the spray sort of air gun thingy. Yeah, this is kind of like how I always start a miniature, just because I love the effect it gives, and it does make using the speed paints so much better. And it's simply a case of dry brushing everything with the grey. So as you can see, obviously I have sort of kept the little miniature figure separate. I had considered putting him in, and gluing him in place, but then thought, well, that's going to make it a little bit tricky to obviously get around the back of him. So yeah, for once I'm actually painting 2 bits separately, even though generally I do like to sort of just glue them together and then just wing it and see how I get on. But yeah, so good old Drybrush Grey, give that a few sort of minutes, let that fully dry, and then repeat the process, dry brushing with white. Generally I try and get more off my my brush so there's less on there. So yeah, so the dry brushing with white is well, it's definitely more of a dry brush. There's only a little bit there which just then hits all the high edges. And it really is such a simple thing to do, but yeah, so the speed paints and contrast paints are just awesome in themselves. But yeah, by doing this first really does sort of make them so much better, as you really can see such a bigger difference in, well, in the sort of the 3 sort of tones that the speed paints give you, which is just awesome. So if you did like this figure and, well, maybe you want to own him, you certainly can, as he is now on eBay. Like I always mention, guys, everything I paint now I am going to be selling. 2 big reasons. One, I just don't have room to store things. I don't have nice sort of shelves or glass cabinets to put bits and pieces in. And to 2, obviously when I sell them I get money and I can use that to buy more bits and pieces, which is just really good, because I say I absolutely love doing this. This channel started out during the 2nd lockdown purely as a way for me to sort of keep sane and keep busy, but because it's grown and grown and grown, I am now endeavouring to make this my sort of, well, my full-time job sort of thing. So yeah, so selling the bits and pieces does help me buy more bits and pieces, as well as buying some cookies to keep me fed. So yeah, check out my eBay, guys, link in the description, and yeah, you'll be able to see, well, anything else that I've sort of currently got on sale down there. So back to the painting. Yeah, usual thing, obviously now it is just simply colouring in by numbers. Try not to go over the edges, because obviously when you do use the speed paints, yeah, you really do only want to sort of paint the bits you want to paint, because if you paint any other bits, then when you come to use a different colour speed paint, you're then putting speed paint over a different speed paint, and yeah, you'll get a bit of a different look. It might be a look you want to go for. If you want to try and do some blending, then yeah, give that a go. But yeah, generally you want to sort of keep within the lines. But yeah, I would say I really did enjoy painting this dude, as I just love the way he looks. I think it's because he's floating as well, or gives the illusion that he's floating. And I say this is like a diorama piece in itself. So as well as being a miniature that I guess, again, so I don't know Age of Sigmar, I've never really looked into the game, I don't know how it's played, but I'm guessing this dude is possibly a boss. I don't know. By all means, guys, let me know in the comments if you play Age of Sigmar and what you think of the game. I say the only game I play at the moment currently is Kill Team, just because I like, well, I like smaller teams, I like a smaller board. I don't think I'd ever play the full sort of Warhammer 40k, just because, again, you need lots more room, and I probably haven't got the room, 1, for the board, and 2, just even to have all those miniatures. Yeah, I would struggle to find somewhere to put all those miniatures other than sort of like hidden away in a cupboard, which is a bit of a shame, because obviously these miniatures are just glorious to look at. So yeah, you really do want them sort of like on display. Okay guys, so another shameless plug coming up here. If you do want to help support the channel, obviously just by watching my videos, sharing, liking, commenting, that does so much and helps me out so much as well. But if you did want to sort of throw some money my way, then yeah, I do have a Patreon page. And the people on the Patreon, they get to obviously see a video every week, normally on a Monday, where I go through and I show sort of what I'm currently working on that week. There are sort of behind the scenes bits and pieces there as well, and they do get access to a lot of the files that I make, like the 3D printed parts that I do. They do get access to be able to sort of, well, download all the bits and pieces. So yes, if you do want to sort of help the channel out, guys, become a patron, get to see behind the scenes stuff, the weekly video, and yeah, knowing you get to feed me more and more cookies, so much appreciated. Okay, plug over with back to the painting, and yeah, to be honest, there's not too many colours involved in this. Again, this is where the speed paints, well, like most paints I guess, some work so much better than others. So I always use obviously my favourite colours. It's like the browns. I've got about 9 or 10 different browns, but I guess there's probably only about 2 or 3 that I use sort of constantly, as they are my sort of like preferred go-to ones. I think this is kind of the case with most paints. You get some that work really, really well, and some that you think not so much. But again, this is another thing, personal preference. We all have a personal preference on how we like the look of something. So what I'm doing here, some people might go, yeah, it looks great, and other people might think, well, nah, it's a bit pants really. And this is where it's each to their own, and this is where you need to find your happy painting style. I know I've certainly found mine, and yeah, I just love how these things sort of come out, which is just awesome. So yeah, the base there, you can see I've just painted it, well, it's meant to be like a brown, but it looks a little bit of an orangey colour, and this is because I'm going to put the old sort of like pretend grass and stuff on top. So I just wanted the underneath to look sort of, well, brown and dirty. So yeah, I've used the sort of the brown, even though it does look a bit more orangey on the camera, and then just using a good old, I think this is Agrax Earthshade. Yeah, again, I used to always use, well, any kind of black or brown wash that I had. But yeah, I have bought some sort of Citadel colours just to give them a go, and just because I always heard so many people go on about using Agrax Earthshade, and thought, yeah, I want to have a little go, see how it looks. And yeah, it's just a brown kind of wash really. But anyway, so I've done that, that looks good, and we can put the grass on at the very end. So there are a few sort of bits to paint. I say I want to add a little bit of colour here and there, so a few bits are going to be sort of like pinky purpley. There's quite a lot of gold on here, obviously there's quite a lot of brown and green, and yeah, again, usual sort of thing. I love painting this dude. I was just, yeah, I was loving it, so much so that sometimes I do forget to video bits that I've done, because I do kind of like get in the moment and just love it so much that I forget to video. Yeah. So these tusks, I'd already painted them in a very sort of a light blue, so much so you probably can't even really tell there. And then my plan was to do the very tips of all these sort of bony bits in a darker blue, and then to try and feather the bits in. Yeah, I'm not the best at feathering, so what I've basically done here is I've done the tips in the sort of like a darker shade of the speed paint blue, and then sort of wet my brush to try and sort of blend the two in. Didn't do too bad of a job. Again, this is where I don't normally do this kind of thing, so it is a case of practice makes perfect, and I do need to sort of, well, have a go at doing blending more often really. This is why I do love using the airbrush. I've only used it a couple of times, and I've just recently used it to do some hive walls for my Killzone board, and yeah, using an airbrush feathering is just so easy. There'll be a video of that coming out fairly soon, guys, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I am using the airbrush a lot more now, just because I just love how it works, and it's fun, it's easy, and yeah, it's a whole bag of fun. So yeah, that's the main base painted. Now to do the little dude, and again, say I normally use mostly the speed paints, but I have now started buying a few more Citadel contrast paints just to sort of bump up my sort of full colour range, and yeah, just sort of give them a go. And again, they sort of work just the same, just as good as speed paints, and again, some of them work really well, others not so much. So with this fat little dude, again, his tummy, I've kind of gone by the picture sort of colour reference. Yeah, his tummy is a lighter sort of shade of colour to the rest of him, so again, I've had to go trying to do that, and what I'm actually painting on here is a green wash, just because then it is nice and light, and very see-through. So I've gone over with a green wash, and then again, to try and sort of blend in his tummy to the rest of him, I let it dry, and then I went over again with more green wash, yeah, just in the areas where obviously the two sort of colours sort of come in contact with each other. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how he's come out. Again, I was having fun, and like I always say, guys, that's the main thing with this. It is a hobby. It's not a race to get things painted, although I do enjoy the slap chop method because it is a nice fast sort of method. Yeah, it's all about having fun. And I say, this dude, yeah, I love how he looks. So don't forget, guys, let me know in the comments if there's any sort of miniatures you think that I should have a look at, or let me know what your favourite miniatures are, just so I can go and have a look at them. Whether it's Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Warhammer 40k, well, even D&D stuff, whatever it is, guys, I just love little miniatures. So yeah, anything to do with sort of fantasy realm is, yeah, right up my street. Whether it's sci-fi or sort of D&D sort of style, yeah, I love it all. So the base, yeah, real simple, PVA glue, and then this sort of mix of grass that I've got. It's got 4 different sort of types of grass in there. There's little bits of cork in there as well. And I know, guys, you're probably going to say, why don't I just take the base and dip it in the grass? I like doing it this way. Again, we're all different. We all have different sort of methods, techniques, ways about us that we do things. I like getting the grass, and I was going to say fingering it, but that's not the right expression. Yeah, whatever it is I'm doing, you can see on the screen, I'm getting the grass and it's rubbing it between my fingers, and it just goes on. And then there's a case of shaky, shake, shake, tap, 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 get all that off. And then I think it's time for us to go and see some, well, see some glamour shots. And there we go, guys, one Seraphon Slann Starmaster, Slapchopped, and yeah, one happy chappy who's really enjoyed doing him. Yeah, guys, don't forget, this chap, if you wanted to own him, he's now currently sitting on eBay, yeah, waiting for someone to buy him and, well, potentially use him in games, which would just be awesome. It'd be great if you guys can share this this video where possible, like, comment, subscribe if you're new, as I do produce videos, well, a couple times a week. And if you wanted to help out the channel and see what I'm currently working on before, well, everyone else does, yeah, consider becoming a patron. And a big shout out and thank you to all my lovely patrons, as well as Chaos Cards and Colourforge for helping sort of support the channel. It really does mean so much to me. And there's another video on the screen, guys. Why don't you give that a click and see, yeah, see more of what I do. Okay, guys, you all take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.